We often say that people are repeatedly what they do. You know, someone could tell you, I'm this, whereas they are that. Or I'm going there, whereas they are going to another direction. So it takes their actions, which you must watch, which you must observe, which you must be vigilant about, to really decipher what really a person's makeup is. Why am I drawing this analogy? When Nigeria continued her democratic process in 1999, of course, some were skeptical. But after a decade, now it's over 2 decades, everyone knows that it's serious business. When we talk about a 4-horse race, we mean that 4 top contenders amidst many others. We had 18 political parties take part in the elections, but of course, we know that 4 parties were at the forefront. Now, Ayuba delves in deeper and brings us well-researched, well-detailed package on the 4-horse race.
The idea of democracy is a constantly developing one. It develops more as the citizens become more self-aware and become more politically involved in the electoral process. Therefore, credible elections is a must, especially in a country as diverse as Nigeria. One thing that stands out in the recently concluded presidential and senatorial elections is that there was more than the traditional 2 dominant parties in the presidential race.
There was a third party that emerged, and a structure came up for that third party. A structure is building up for this third party in a 2-party system. So therefore, the electoral dynamics of Nigeria have been changed for life from these 2023 elections. Nigeria would never be a 2-party system type of country again. Always is now from now going to be a multi-party system. What democracy is about is this government for the people. We have examples of people there was an Okada man in Kaduna that has been elected into the House of Reps. There was another man in Etiosa. The government is not supposed to be centered around the same circle of people. We can see that this grip of government is spreading around to other people, and it's getting closer to the grassroots. And this is what politics is all about. This is what democracy is all about. This is what government is all about.
Many attribute this to a better understanding of the Nigerian demography and how popular opinion and a unified purpose can cause long-lasting change.
Speaking of this unism of purpose, I'm going to give an example of the 2015 general elections that ushered Muhammadu Buhari into power. A lot of people talk about how Buhari ran for election a couple of times before he won election. But what I need you to know is the other times that Buhari ran for elections, Buhari ran once under CPC, he ran once under AMPP, he ran once under ACN. Buhari was only able to secure those numbers when these parties came together to fight PDP. Because there is something that should never be underrated, and that's the power of incumbency in politics. You see, if you look at the national spread of the election results we have today, we would see that votes were divided. Everybody had, permit me to call it, a common enemy in the person of the government of the day. It would have been, in my opinion, way easier for parties to work together. But you see, the thing is, a lot of people are playing politics today from their emotions, and you can't blame them, because politics is an emotional thing. It's something, your leader who leads you is something that affects everything about you, what you eat, your religion, your freedom, you know, everything. So you can't expect people not to play politics with emotions. It's very understandable. But moving forward, we are to think and work together and not fight against each other towards a common purpose, because all we want is a better Nigeria, isn't it?
The first leg of the elections has been concluded, and as the country prepares for the second leg, what are the expectations moving forward?
Moving forward, we should make an inquiry of the whole electoral process that was conducted and see how we can do better. They should get rid of issues like voter disenfranchisement, voter harassment, and be transparent with the transmission of elections, the electronic transmission of elections. I mean, we're in 2023 and things are to be done. We're in the technology age. That's why so much money is being invested. These things are supposed to be transparent to every citizen's eyes because the mandate lies with us. The National Assembly is composed of the Senate and the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives, take note of the word representatives. And you know, we have constituents that don't even know who their representatives are. Is that a democracy? We have constituents who don't even know who members of their House of Assembly go down to the local level or don't have access to their councillors. Is that a democracy? So in general, Nigeria, we are doing great, but we can always do better. There's a lot to learn, there's a lot to improve on. But in all, let us learn, move forward, and work together as Nigerians. All I can say in the end is, let Nigeria win.
Let Nigeria win, and Nigeria can truly win when we all participate in every election process, as long as we are 18 and above and have our potent permanent voters card. You must come out and ensure that your vote does count. I'll just take a message here quickly. Arinze is reaching us from Enugu. Arinze says, hello, weekend deal. I want to commend the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and all the Nigerians who trooped out en masse to cast their vote in last Saturday's election. He goes on to say, this is the first time in the history of our nation where an incumbent governor lost a seat in the Senate. He's talking about the National Assembly. It says, I think we're going to have a competitive governorship elections next week, and that will truly work in favor of the masses. Collins Arinze reaches us from Enugu. We'll take our next feature, and this should also play a very big role in how we come out next week. We're talking about voter apathy. Why do Nigerians still have voter apathy? From Ibadan, let's see what their research thrust up.
Voting system under democracy is the only acceptable way of electing the choice of the people's representative into governance, whereby dividends of democracy could be enjoyed by the masses who voted for the government in power. However, it has been discovered in recent times that low turnout has been experienced among eligible voters, particularly during local elections like governorship and state house of assembly, where the turnout at these elections are expected to be massive. What could be responsible for this voter apathy?
When people show no interest, are apathetic, or they are indifferent towards political activities, including voting, the violence within the system, makes some people to be cautious, so that they don't even show up at certain places, fearing that violence might erupt there. So that's one of the reasons, perceived or actual violence. People still have basic needs that are not satisfied, and so they feel that they shouldn't even bother themselves going to participate in voting.
The system whereby promises are made when parties are campaigning for votes and election, and on victory, the average citizen expects the fulfillment of that promise or promises within 4 years. And first year, no hope. Second year, no hope. Third year, the situation of the voter or the citizen gets worse. Now, on the 5th year, you are now saying campaigning for. He or she does not want to hear that campaign. Not only to politics, any subject under the sun. So we should take it that is the average individual reaction to a promise unfulfilled or a hope unseen.
Voting competent and legitimate candidates into political offices is a big challenge to the growth of democracy, hence the need for massive participation in the process of choosing the representatives, since the results of the elections must be commensurate with the population of registered voters. What are the negative effects of low turnout at local elections on the economy, the development of the grassroots citizens, and what are the possible way out?
Why do you go and get the PVC? The reason being that it's your power and you are tired of the situation, you want to change the leadership. And that means you must come out to vote and choose a leader of your choice. But if you don't come out, you are still creating problem for yourself. You are still saying that the situation, the hardships will continue. But if you are tired of hardship and you don't like what is really going on, the basic thing is for you to come out with your PVC and exercise your civic right.
Philosopher centuries ago said, you will be governed by your inferiors if you refuse to perform your civic right. That is, screening the candidates, checking out their backgrounds, their party manifestos and all that, and performing the civic responsibility of casting your vote on the day of election. If you don't do that, don't be shocked when they announce the winner. The National Orientation Agency, which is an organ under the Ministry of Information, federal particularly, and state, they must share the responsibilities of proclaiming government policies, the benefits, advantages to we, the public. So the time is now more than ever for them to come out through publications, adverts, commercials, jingles, and if possible, market displays.
Economy is managed by people who have expertise, who have competencies. To do that, not everybody is able to manage economy or some other thing for that matter. And so when people don't come out to scrutinize and vote the right people who have the competency, then the economy is going to suffer. As Abraham Maslow talked about in his hierarchy of needs theory, people who are operating at the physiological level of life, you have basic, they are not concerned about higher level needs. So they will not be interested in political activities.
It is now imperative for all citizens to obey the clarion call and participate fully in all elections without looking back, and ensure the true reflection of the choice of the people.
When you don't come out to vote, when you are eligible to vote, you're not performing your civic duty or your civic responsibility. You are obliged to come out and vote. And when you do not come out to make your vote count, do you really think you have a right to complain or contribute to the growth and development of our country? Let's also go to Enugu. They're also doing some background work, finding out why people say they have apathy.
99! I appreciate the youth and even the elderly ones. They did well.
Last Saturday's 25th February presidential and National Assembly elections in Nigeria has come and gone, but the embers of it has yet to die out.
Nigerians trooped out to cast their votes, to exercise their franchise, to elect their leaders and elect the president of Nigeria.
Here in Enugu State, Nigeria, while the victory pendulum swung mostly in favor of the Labour Party, there is still a perceived mixed feelings amongst the residents on how the forthcoming March 11, 2023 governorship and State House of Assembly elections would pan out.
It's a shift from people are thinking about party. Now they are looking at individuals. Yes, majority of the people that won the past elections, especially in the National Assembly, that they are from Labour Party. But it would be wrong to think that people just voted Labour Party. They voted the candidates of their choices.
But then the next governorship and state house of assembly are so crucial elections because of their direct bearing on the people, even to the grassroots level.
Of course, it's local now, it's state. So they know the individuals who are vying for these positions, and they are going to vote based on what they know, based on the capabilities of these people, what they are bringing to them.
Like in other parts of the country, the indices from research have not presented an encouraging economic picture for most residents here in the state.
We need a government that is going to bring in growth through infrastructure in the state, through job creation, and meaningful training for the youth, so that everybody will be gainfully employed and gainfully engaged.
The high level of poverty arising the general economic climate simply infer that the people must seize the initiative at voting in credible leaders who would formulate and implement policies that will usher in a new era of economic prosperity and development for all.
We thank you very much for getting your messages across to us. Earlier on, when we began the package, we said that we are what we repeatedly do. When we stand for truth, for progress, for growth, for development, and we exercise our civic responsibility, we come out with our voter's card and we vote. That cycle of responsibility and patriotism, we continue to go round. So you must come out and do it. Do it once, do it again, and keep doing it. And that way, your vote will count and more Nigerians will come out en masse. Let me take this message quickly from Enugu. You know, we just saw the feature talking about voter apathy, and Divine Bernard is telling me that he's not inspired to go out and vote next week. He says he would have loved to vote, but the way things are, he may not be so inspired. Bernard, you must come out and vote because you are going to be voting in the governorship elections. And that will have a direct bearing on the growth of your state and development of your people. Do what is right, do what is responsible, and be responsive. We go to Kano now, where we talk about the inclusiveness. Kano, how was it over there? Please share.
The 2023 presidential election witnessed a turnout of voters across the various levels of people in the country who are eligible to vote in order to exercise their civic rights. In this regard, the turnout can be referred as an inclusive election process where all strata of people were out to vote for the candidates of their choice. Therefore, what accounts for such development?
Elections are meant to be for all. They are meant to be inclusive. Hence, provisions should be made for all categories of people. Even the physically challenged should have been catered for. So it is meant to contain all genders, people from all backgrounds and what have you. That is the kind of inclusive election that is needed for a country.
People with special needs, such as Sumaya and Ibrahim, were highly impressed with the kind of treatment they got from INEC officials while they were trying to exercise their civic rights in the just concluded 2023 presidential election.
Zaki samu a duk waɗanda aka ce suna da lalura ba sai sun bi layi wajen kaɗa ƙuri'a ba. Kusan an fi bawa masu buƙata ta musamman dama wanda da ka gansu su kansu mutanen da ne suka jahilci abubuwa, amma sakamakon kiraye-kirayen da aka yi ta yi cewa masu bukata ta musamman ba sa daga cikin mutanen da in sun zo za su bi layi ko su shiga rana don a sauƙaƙa musu, su ma mutanen sun fuskanci haka.
Experience was that despite that experience that I have said, we have been given chance to vote before anybody. When we come to the line, the officials of the INEC consider us first. As they see us, they will call us and do whatever and give up the ballot paper.
However, The inclusiveness process in the forthcoming governorship election can be maintained when the following provisions are to be considered.
And then, of course, the process too has not been very simple for all. It's a tedious process, despite the fact that we said there is a voter apathy, but we believe that those who turned out did something that is very resilient.
Furthermore, there is a great advantage when inclusiveness in election process is given a chance.
We need to look at the elderly, we need to look at physically challenged, we need to look at women, nursing mothers and what have you, that cannot withstand that rigorous process. So the process needs to be made easier for it to be inclusive. And it is in that regard that we salute the resilience of Nigerians that have really stayed in order to cast their votes in the recently concluded elections. All eyes were on the presidential elections, and many people would have get the kind of either satisfaction or dissatisfaction that they desired from the elections, and that would have affected their own enthusiasm. So we need to at least sustain the tempo by campaigns, and then by looking at the challenges that we have had in the presidential elections, and then doing away with them in order to ensure that we have had a better as well as a more inclusive election in the coming gubernatorial elections.
In election process, no voice should be left unheard, no one should be left out, and no one should be subjected to any form of discrimination if the ideals of democratic dispensation wants to be achieved.
Interesting. It's all hands on deck. It's all Nigerians who are eligible to vote, who are working together. The electorate is as important as those who are going to elect. In fact, some will say even more important, because with your PVC, you will determine who will lead you at any level, either at the highest office of the land, or when you come down to the states, your governors, your councillors, members of the state's houses of assembly. And some people are saying they have apathy, so they will stay at home. Even though they have their PVCs, they won't come out to vote. But let me tell you what Colin Powell is saying here. He says, a dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and consistent hard work. And that's what all of us, over 93 million eligible Nigerians, need to do together. And that's why Jamila went out to talk with Nigerians, because she's of the opinion that the voting process is a call to action. And we all who are eligible must be responsive. Jamila, take it from here. There is so much that hangs in the balance. So much so that our voices and votes matter greatly. As citizens, we have the social responsibility to hold our leadership accountable, hence the need to vote. When we all participate and cast our votes, despite our differences in tribe and religion, we allow our individual voices to be heard and therefore strengthen our democracy.
Voting is a civic responsibility. You must vote, and it's your right to vote. When you vote, you are able to choose the leaders of your choice. Your vote is your voice. So when you vote, it means you have spoken your voice. Even though ordinarily your voice won't have been heard, but with the vote, you can be heard. Vote will help to entrench democracy. It promotes participation of citizens in the electorate. So it's very important that citizens vote, because when they vote, they are able to make their choice. They are able to, engender democracy. They are able to make sure that things work well for them. Because during the campaign, a lot of people are campaigning. They are saying things that they will do. So it's for you to listen to who is speaking my mind, who is saying those things that pertain to me, and you vote for the person. So it's very important that citizens come out on election day and exercise their franchise.
As voters, we help in deciding who will lead us and determine the issues that affect us as a country. Every time we acknowledge and prioritize our patriotic duty, our democracy grows stronger. It is easy to take part in elections when we have the tools and requisite information.
Voting is a civic responsibility that every citizen should do. Secondly, most of the times we complain and we don't seem to vote. So for us to be able to choose our leader and choose the right leader, we must go out and vote. Most times we stand aloof, thinking that things will change, but it's through our voting that we can change things.
Over time, the media has evolved progressively, and today, campaign strategies reflect the use of analysis and the science of influence and effect. Today, a candidate's every word, every action, and even their perceived thoughts are paraded before the public.
It is necessary for me to vote as a citizen of Nigeria because the way people are passing through, that's why it makes me to choose a leader, but everything it is gone. But it is because of my vote. God can choose somebody that can be a good citizen, a good leader in this country.
This is what the ballot paper will look like. This is just a sample that we use for voter education. Now we have 18 political parties contesting this election. So you have the political parties, their logos, then you have empty boxes here where you are supposed to make your choice. So you ensure that when you are pressing your choice, you ensure that the ink does not stain any other box so that your choice will be clear. This kind of ballot will be invalid, to not be counted. Then we have another example of somebody who picked the ballot paper, went into the cubicle and wrote names, his or her name. When you pick a ballot paper, go into the cubicle and you come out without impressing the ink on any of the logos of the party, it means you have not made any choice. So when you do that, it means this ballot will be invalid because we don't know who you have voted for. After you have made your choice, you come out, deposit the ballot paper into the ballot box, and when you have done that, you are now free to leave the polling unit. But peradventure you want to stay back to witness the sorting and counting of results, the law says you stay 300 meters away from the voting arena and ensure that you do not disrupt the process.
With our permanent voters card, we must now act with wisdom as we come out en masse to give the electoral process the authentic seal our nation deserves. When you come out, you give every election process the authentic seal that you will give it as a patriotic citizen. I'll just take a quick message here before we go on the break. Gobadia is reaching us from Edo State. He says he has his PVC. He voted last week and he would love to come out this week to vote. He's asking all Nigerians who have their PVCs to do same and to prioritize safety for themselves and for all Nigerians. We need to also ask security agencies to come out, and rally and protect citizens. Zainab from Kaduna says, Kaduna is ready for the governorship elections and we're praying for a free and fair, credible elections. Thank you, Zainab and Gubadia, and all our viewers who are reaching us. You are watching Weekend Deal. We'll take a break. We will be back. Don't go away. You're watching a Weekend Deal, and it's great to get your messages. It shows you are keenly participating, not just in the program Weekend Deal, but in the growth and development of our country, Nigeria. I'll take this one from Augustine from Lagos before we go to our next feature. Augustine is telling us that he would wish that the police commission, the military, and all those who form the security team, especially during this election period, should provide their most ideal vehicles to complement that which conveys logistics and the ad hoc staff to the polling units to avoid late delivery of sensitive materials. He says, why political party observers should not be more than one per polling unit. Talking about over 176,000 polling units in Nigeria. One party observer per party. So suggests Augustine from Lagos. Thank you, Augustine. Now, the media, which is us and the rest, have been actively and keenly participating, projecting, enlightening voter information from time since last year, and we will not relent in our efforts. Well, Ori is doing some in-depth analysis on our role and how credibly we have performed it.
The media was first applied to newspapers about 2 centuries ago, and since then, it has obtained a political connotation covering all mediums used to communicate political information to cross-section of people, especially when electoral ambience fills the air. Since the inception of democracy, the media has contributed effectively.
The collection of permanent votes.
The traditional media in discharging their duties before, during and after the elections have to bid to improve positive perceptions and future democratic benefits.
The media has always played a role. Whether it's optimal is also another discussion. But right now, as we proceed towards the 2023 elections, the media has been able to help disseminate information. I would say the media landscape in Nigeria has supported the election process to a reasonable degree in a positive direction. This election, like most previous elections, has been charged with a lot of sentiments. There's a lot of tension in the air. And the media has a role to play in ensuring that those feelings are not transformed into negative, violence. So as reporters and media houses go into this electioneering season, it is important that the reporting is as much as possible objective, factual, and free from bias and inducement as much as possible. When you go out to the field, report what you see on the field, but as much as possible also be sensitive to the entire atmosphere.
The information they provide on a daily basis, hourly basis, I think help citizens take informed decisions as to whatever party you belong to, or whoever you're supporting, what is important, responsibility, citizens' responsibility. The media gets to educate the people taking right decisions and also be a part of the peace process we talk about before, during, and after the elections. The social media play a very vital impact in terms of the quick delivery of information. I think we need to be very circumspect. We need to also verify, because some of these people are not trained professionally.
Journalists described their previous experiences and how the need for a positive mindset is crucial.
Some years back, when I was still on the field, so to speak, we had an incident in one of the elections that had passed where we were getting reports from the field about certain ethnic exclusions. So people were refusing to allow people from a certain ethnicity to vote. And we had to weigh it. Okay, if we start to disseminate this information, in so part of the country, they are preventing so kind of people from voting. What would be the likely repercussion in other regions? So sometimes you have to look at the news in the face of public interest. So while it was newsworthy that people were being denied access to vote, you have to look at it as, okay, it's an isolated incident, the number of people involved are not many. But if we take this news forward, you are likely going to have repercussions and retaliations across multiple parts of the country. And you will now find yourself in a situation where, in trying to do your job in one way, you created a problem that has truncated the entire electoral process. So reporters have to be able to make that on-the-spot assessment and determine what is in the interest of these elections. One, they have to be professional. Two, they have to be
They have to shun all forms of inducements. They have to ensure that they are not contributing to truncating democracy.
This is the D-Day of the election in Kuje Area Council. And even though most times we go to the hinterlands, to the local communities to cover these elections, I think our professionalism is always coming to bear in terms of how you relate with the people. And I have not been part of any violent attack or been harassed in terms of covering elections or executing my constitutional duty. Well, I think in the sum total, FCT has been fairly good when it comes to free and fair elections. Just recently, we were able to go to some communities to get a pulse of how prepared they are on these elections. And the feelers we got was that a lot of interactions, sensitization through town hall meetings and so on and so forth have been able to sensitize the people to know what they're supposed to do. So I think people are buying into such initiatives to be peaceful before, during, and after elections.
As Nigeria remains in the realm of its 7th consecutive general elections since the country returned to democracy in 1999, we can only make our vote count by performing our civic responsibilities.
That was interesting. You know, the media has a responsibility, and we don't take it lightly. You know, when it comes to providing the requisite enlightenment and education about elections, about your PVC and other national issues, you can count on the media. Of course, the Nigerian Television Authority taking the lead every time, all the time, to ensure you get the info you require as and at when due. You're watching Weekend. We thank you for being a keen participant of our program, because it's one for all and all for one. Comrade Opoku Ogenye is a member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council. Also of great importance, he's a National Secretary of the Renewed Hope Ambassadors of Nigeria, and that is so key this time. Welcome to Weekend Deal.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Great to have you with us. Renewed hope. Let us hit the ground running. How are you, spreading, sharing, and renewing hope among Nigerians?
It is very important that as Nigerians, we renew our hopes on a daily basis. First, you must believe in your country. You put your hope in God, and your civic responsibility is always there before you. So the renew hope is to renew the hope of Nigerians, believing in the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, then abiding by the rules, the guiding principle of governance in the country. And you can see in the last few days, in fact, a few days to the general elections, there were a lot of agitations here and there. But renewed hope was able to keep Nigeria together. And after the declaration of the result, you saw the one or two agitations here and there. So many people, even the international community, were anticipating crisis. But the renewed hope has continued to keep the system together. And that is why
Okay, you were visiting them in their homes. How were you renewing their hope? You worked alongside security agencies?
Renew Hope is a non-governmental organization, Renew Hope Ambassadors of Nigeria. So what we do, we work with other non-governmental organizations, peer groups, regional-based groups, and other agencies. So what we do is to go into the hinterland. We went in with empowerment materials, some educational materials. So we are able to convince the people that this is our country. We must believe in the country. We must abide by its rules. We must, as a people, be able to even understand the system. And how do you do this? You must renew your hope towards the administration. And that is why we continue to preach about peace, unity, love, and progress. And in Nigeria today, there is no nation that is more united than this country.
Indeed.
Because if we are not united, we would have had it so rough in the last few days. But you see that the hope of Nigerians are renewed in view of the activities of this government. So the hope is already renewed.
Interesting. Yes, that's a very critical aspect. You know, when hope is continually refreshed, I think the people stay optimistic.
Yes.
Even though some people may be feeling pessimism, when you continue to galvanize, go around and renew their hope, there's no doubt that they'll become more optimistic again. Interesting. So you must not relent in your efforts.
Thank you
Even as
very
we're
much.
speaking, you are renewing my hope and vigor. But let's talk about renewed hope also. A key catchment area, especially at this time, is to encourage Nigerians, those who are voting age, to come out en masse and vote, of course. And it's you still get a few pockets of people talking about voter apathy. What will be your words of encouragement and renewed hope and vigor to them, such that March 11, they don't stay home because they must come out?
Yes, very, very interesting is the result of the 2023 elections, the presidential election to be precise, is has shown clear the voter apathy among Nigerians, irrespective of all the campaigns and the renewed hope that we have sold to the people. Because we have comfort for them, we have shown concern, so they know whosoever will direct them to vote
So
will
were you
also be of their
patriotic in
conscience.
your responses?
Yes, we're patriotic.
So how
because
did you
first,
respond to
we
them?
ask. Now, you ask, who should you vote for? We will ask you, who do you want to vote for? Now, some persons will complain about the President Buhari's administration because they are not very informed about it. So we will put them through. This is what the government has done. This is what the government has done.
Okay.
So now, sorry, let me add it. So when we go there, some will complain about a particular candidate. We want to vote for this person, but this is why we don't want to vote for the person. We'll put you through. If it is the problem of the person or not, we allow them to exercise their civic
So you show them the
responsibility.
qualities
Yes,
that each candidate has.
Yes. And indeed, they align with the Renew Hope manifesto.
Indeed.
And they voted for the right candidate.
Comrade Okoku, I mean, this is quite inspiring.
Yes.
And you were able to visit 36 states of the Federation?
No, we have representatives.
Okay.
Yeah, we have NGOs, we have coordinators down to polling units.
Okay.
And we're able to appoint 20 ambassadors per polling unit across the Federation.
Interesting.
Yes.
And of course, you were able to witness that Nigerians were voting their conscience and
Yes.
were not swayed in any way.
Yes.
Some have talked about late arrival of materials and logistics, important critical materials for the election process. What will be your take on that? How can that be addressed? It's just a week away for the governorship elections.
Yes, and first I must commend the electoral body, INEC. INEC did a fantastic job. There is no election that is perfect in the world. So there must be 1 or 2 inches, especially at a time that we have
And sometimes
a
the
financial
inches
crunch.
can be more than 1 or 2
Yes,
as well.
but like what we have in this last election, it was a minor, how can I say that? Yeah, it's just a minor inches, because where people were not able to vote as a result of beavers crisis or a late arrival of materials, the election was rescheduled for Sunday, which it was also held. So
It
the
was
people,
held.
yes, the INEC insisted that the people must exercise their civic responsibility of casting their vote, and they did. And that is why you see that the presidential candidate of APC, who is now the president-elect, even lost Lagos State to the opposition.
Because the materials were late.
No, because people were allowed to vote freely and
With their
voted their
conscience.
conscience.
We want. It's interesting that Nigerians, you know, they need to know the rights and the power that their PVCs hold.
Yes.
Because if we use our PVCs wisely, then definitely we'll have little or no reason to complain. If we use it wisely and things continue to go as planned, and then it's a win-win for everyone. It is our hope that things will continue to go as planned, because when the materials are prompt and the system works as promised, then
Now,
everyone
yes.
will remain objective
Yes.
and can see that really their votes are counting.
Yes, like
Though postponement is possible, but we don't think that should be an option, you know, at the onset.
No.
Really. Or
We
what do you
don't
say
need to
that?
postpone the election.
Not the election, you
Yeah.
said some areas where the materials were late,
Were late and
logistics
all
was
of that.
delayed.
And the
They
INEC
had
has
to
already
postpone.
taken a correction. You know, from the Osun election, INEC was able to make some reforms. Now, from this presidential election, INEC too will also make some adjustments to ensure that they have at least the minimum requirement in each of the polling units for vote to be
But have you
casted
been
on that
talking
same day.
closely with INEC?
Yes,
Or it's just what we read in the papers
No,
that you're also reading?
I'm in touch with the director of information, voter education, even director of media and publicity of the commission.
Earlier, when we had several conversations with non-governmental organizations before the election, they were more interested in INEC under-promising, so that when they do exceptionally well, everyone will be impressed and inspired, to come out again. Do you think INEC overpromised?
No, INEC did not.
Okay.
Something happened very critical that I must draw your attention. People complain about transmission of result, the presidential result per se, into the server. And INEC made it clear that about 162 attempts were made in less than 74 hours to hack into the INEC server.
Will you take that again, please?
Yes, that 162 attempts were made to hack into the INEC server within 72 hours.
Expectedly.
Yes. So now, INEC was also very wise not to upload that result to the server which hackers were already ready to hack. But the result were not tampered, and everything was done in perfect shape.
Okay.
Now, I want to say something about the state election. We're talking about voter apathy. There are some factors that are now resulting to voters' apathy. For example, in Benue State, immediately after the declaration of the National Assembly and presidential election, there were killings in Kwande local government and Gwe West local government of Benue State. The people are now fleeing their homes. Those people may not return back to vote. Are you get what I'm saying? So the security agencies must stand up to their responsibilities, because we believe that those crises in Kwande or in Benue right now is politically motivated, just to sway the people. So certain persons lost election. Benue was completely PDP controlled state. Out of 11 House of Representatives,
the bottom line, people now took the law into their hands.
No, some state actors are sponsoring militias.
People took the law into their hands.
Yes,
Violence
sponsoring militias
erupted
to disrupt the peace of the people, which may affect the governorship election.
So security agencies must come out strongly.
Yes, strongly, and even call the state actors to order.
For the fact that you are talking to over 200 million people,
yes,
you must be very careful with the words that you use.
Yes.
Okay? State actors passes your message. Secret agencies have heard you.
Yes.
In fact, Nigeria has heard you.
Yes.
And the world.
Yes.
And I know that they will take action.
We must, as a people, encourage Nigerians to vote and be voted for. So now, as a Renew Hope ambassador, I am here to tell you that we don't have a particular political affiliation. What we did during the last presidential election was to go out and study the manifestos of all the presidential candidates, including the SDP. And we find out that a particular candidate meet up with our requirement in view of his antecedent and that of his disposition. And that is why the Renew Hope ambassadors gladly directed its members to vote for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Okay, just hold the thought. Our program continues now.
Social media is the fastest medium that allows people to publicly share their thoughts, feelings, and news. It has over the years become a big part of the young people's social and creative lives. There are, however, bad sides to this obvious excellent medium of connectivity, one of which is the spread of fake, derogatory, illegal, and unverified news and information across all social media platforms, especially during electioneering process, that can lead to social unrest in the country.
I have this information. First step is it verifiable? Is it a verifiable information? Especially where it is not an information that is in the public space already. first review it. Is it verifiable? Is it an information I've had before? If I've not had it before, is it possible I get somebody, or can I get across to somebody to ask that person if this information is true? If it's an individual, I mean, if it's an institution, is it possible for me to get somebody within that institution, to confirm, to verify or validate that information? 2, do not share. Some people have become information, they have an addiction to sharing information on the social media. Once they see an information or a message, the next thing they do is to escalate it to their own, either their own followers or their own audience, as the case may be. Now you have not verified that information, you have not validated it. The next thing you are doing is to now share it. Perhaps you have 2,000 followers. 2,000 followers, your 2,000 followers are receiving that. They in turn are also now sharing it. So you actually have a multiplier, as it were.
Analysts believe that disinformation and misinformation, as well as weaponization of fake news, along with incorrect and inflammatory commentaries, pose a threat to national peace, security and stability, with great implications on the society.
We have seen in the world, even before the coming of social media, where misinformation had triggered conflict of huge intensity over time. So now you have a space where the speed at which information or messages move is near light speed, So when you have such, and people are not verifying and all that, it creates an immediate case. If it's not creating conflict in the first instance, it's creating bad blood, So we know how complex and diversified Nigeria is. Someone is breaking a fake news deliberately to cast aspersion or to wrongfully accuse a tribe, for instance. All other tribes will hold that other tribe in contempt.
The alarming rate of fake news in Nigeria today is a cause for concern, as it is capable of threatening national peace and security of the country, especially during elections. It, however, behoves on every responsible citizen to be mindful of contents they get on social media. More than half of over 200 million Nigerians are believed to be on the internet, hence the growth of the spread of information on social media. Nevertheless, the spread of fake and unverified information on the media can be curtailed through strong enforcement of social media laws to discourage citizens from spreading misinformation. Citizens must also be patriotic and responsible enough to adequately verify any information at their disposal before sharing such information to other people.
We'll be talking about the role of the social media. Social media is good. It's modern. It encompasses a wider variety of people, great thinking people with a vision. It broadens our communication horizon. But we must be mindful of how deeply we assage ourselves in the kind of news that we get from the social media. Comrade, we do know that there's lots of good aspects in social media, but there's been an outcry about some aspects which are platformed on some issues about dis or misinformation.
Yes. We have a whole lot of mischievous people who manipulate the social media with which intention is to syndicate information in a very fast speed to the people. So some persons took advantage of it, manipulate the system, and begin to sell fake news. And I think most of the crises we have in recent time in Nigeria is as a result of fake news. Where something is not happening, you say it's happening. When the actual thing happening is different. We can take that even from the dissemination of information from the war zone. Indeed, when we used to have a Boko Haram all over the country, and when a soldier is killed, the social media will report that 50 soldiers have been killed, and it makes neighboring communities to flee even when there is no such crisis. Indeed. So when we go there to verify, we discover maybe the casualty is just a soldier at that period. when Boko Haram members or the ISWAP members are killed in numbers, the social media will report that they also killed the soldiers instead of telling Nigerians or the residents that they have been neutralized. To
But that's
give them
unpatriotic,
confidence.
isn't it?
Yes, unpatriotic. Fake news generally is unpatriotic. And that is why some National Assembly members rose up to regulate it. Although their motive may not be very correct, but some of the aspects, it call for regulation.
Indeed.
Because if you disseminate fake news, for example, during the last elections, there were a lot of fake news coming up from everywhere. And it made Nigerians to believe that these news were true. So when the actual news came up, they will begin to say it is fake.
Not true.
It is
Okay,
not,
hold
and
your
all of
thought. Hold your thought. We'll take a break. You're watching Weekend Deal. Don't go away. We'll be back. You're watching Weekend Deal, and for keenly participating, we thank you. It's our country, great country called Nigeria. So we all must work together assiduously to ensure its growth and its development. I'm still talking with Comrade Opoku Ogenyi as we wrap up our conversation. Let us summarize all we have discussed with a view to propagating peace, unity, and national development, especially at this very critical time of our nation's developmental path.
I think peace, unity, and progress is very crucial, even to the governance of the country. So we must give that credit. Yes, that's what I'm sending a message to the electorate, that we must give that credit to President Muhammadu Buhari, who has been able to distinguish the Nigeria electoral process.
Okay.
So therefore, the electorate must continue to vote in line with their conscience, in line with the seeming simplicity of leaders, people that have proven integrity to move the nation forward. So as we go into this governorship election, we should not forget that it is very crucial. We have participated in the presidential, we must participate in the governorship and state assembly election if we must have a sane society or governance in the country.
And indeed, that's what we all desire. Thank you for being on our package today, Comrade Opoku Ogenyi. You've renewed the hope of many. We hope you continue to do so nationally, so that Nigerians will truly understand the position that they play and come out en masse to vote in the forthcoming elections for governors and for members of the state's houses of assembly. There you have it. It's a wrap. Every good thing will wrap at some point, and we'd love to thank you for being a part of our package today. Weekend Deal. We're sharing ideas together. Thank you for sending in your thoughts, your concerns, and your experiences. Nigeria is ours to build together. In spite of how you may feel, when there are highs, when there are lows, it behoves us. When we're above 18 and we have our permanent voters card, especially at this time, when we'll be voting in 31 states for governors and members of the state houses of assembly to come out en masse and perform our civic responsibility. Jamila reminded us today that voting is a call to action. We must build our country together. It's a responsibility for one, it's a responsibility for all. The government, leaders are only as good as the followership that supports them and obeys the laws of that country. God bless Nigeria. From all of us here, it's bye-bye and have a good